rarely do I laugh out loud while listening to a podcast. Um, but the part where Chamath was talking about, we're doing a lot of clapping, and I think we're doing that right now. If even if not so good data comes out, as long as it's not bad, we start clapping. If we were finding these little things that we're hoping and clapping, and he's like, I hope it starts fucking raining gold coins. That's not we can hope all we want, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen. And hope's not a strategy, it's not a plan, it's not an action. But the way he said that, that's the funny part. But it's why it's funny. It's because if you were sitting down with that dude and just cracking a bottle of wine somewhere, that's exactly how he would sound, and that's exactly what he would say, and that's what I want from these types of podcasts. I know a lot of times they got to censor themselves, and they got some profile. They don't want to get canceled, but it's nice when people are just real and they're coming off the cuff and they're just saying how it is. But I fucking hope it starts raining gold coins too. I'm gonna start collecting them out back. Um, but I'll get to that part in a minute. I'm a little bit late on this episode doing my insights. I was up north for a week and totally forgot about the pod, and we're bringing the boat back. And as I'm coming into the marina or the harbor, there's a billionaire's house right on the corner. And I'm sitting there looking at, he's got 4 boats out there. He's got 3 offshores. He had 2 center consoles and a 50 Marauder, cigarette Marauder out there. And then a Pershing 90-something foot. And looking at that Pershing, I'm like, it made me laugh again because I was thinking of Chamath in that last episode 90, I think, where he just casually makes the comment that it takes a whole team to dock this boat. And I'm like, shit, I forgot I got to go back and get the insights done for this one. So driving back today, I got most of this in. I fast forwarded a couple parts, but Chamath needs to cuss more because that's probably how he sounds out to dinner, and I think that's what we want more of. And then as Freeberg had another, Freeberg again, bringing the good points. We'll talk about the too much capital thing. Sachs comes out blazing at J. Cal again. They don't like each other. And it's because of political ideals. Just knock it off. It seems petty. It was funny for a second the way J. Cal, or the way Sachs was going at J. Cal. There's times when you watch videos of people in a podcast or something, and they're the types of guys that just go out, drink a bunch of tequila, and they just bust each other's balls all day, but it's funny the way they're making fun of each other. And they can all take a joke, and they're just capping on each other. I mean, that's how I grew up. You're in the streets, you're ripping on each other all day. You're just straight capping on people, mom jokes, whatever. Everyone's kind of laughing. At times, on this show, it just feels like they hate each other. I don't like that vibe, but that's just me anyways. That part where Chamath was talking about we're just clapping, it's, the last, CPI read. Yeah, it was less, but it's not good. What if it stays up at 7-8% for 2 years? Are we going to be clapping for that? We clap because it didn't go up. And I think we do that for startups. We do that when, maybe, earnings come in and they're not great, but they're not as bad as we thought. And what's the trend? Is what you got to ask yourself. Where is this going? And then I look at on any investment, whether it's a startup investment, whether you're looking at equity, something commercial real estate, where's the spark that's going to take us up? And I don't see any sparks right now, and that's my problem. And I think it was Chamath again that mentioned towards the end of the show, potentially there's a 100-piece whack-a-mole going on right now, and any one of these issues could just set the whole thing off. And I think Freeberg brought that up episode 89 or 90. There's just so many things in the world that are going on, and it might just take one mousetrap cracking to make them all kind of pop off. So I don't know if now's the time to get excited. Market's going up, and everyone thinks things are going to be okay. But let me tell you what I'm seeing. Hiring is definitely slowed down because I have companies that deal with recruiting across the country. Definitely slowed. I have another company that helps the people that get displaced when they get laid off. It's called Outplacement Services. Massive, triple-digit increase in that business in the last 2 to 3 months. Continues to gain more speed right now. So we're watching hiring slow And on the other business, we're watching the layoffs pick up. So I think we're not out of the woods. And maybe as far as stock market goes, really big bear bounce, dead cat bounce, we'll see. I don't think we felt the pain yet. I think you saw Wall Street start to factor in some things, or they're like, oh shit, inflation, a lot of these bubbles are popping. You saw what's going on like Peloton and these types of companies. A lot of concern out there. I'm not going to cover every single thing they talked about, by the way. There's things that stick out to me, and that's what I'm going to talk about here. The one part was the one I really enjoyed the most, and I think it was Friedberg talking about how, you're trying to raise money for a company. Like, I got to be honest, if someone came to me and said they want $250,000 to get this done, I'm not going to go, well, here's $1 million and let's just grow faster. And I think that's what he was talking about with SoftBank. Maybe VCs in general, they were throwing so much money out there, like, let's focus on hyper growth, let's get as much market as we can. And at a point, a good example, they were talking about customer acquisition, saying, hey, here's $1 billion, and you were paying $100 to acquire a customer, but now you got all this money and you're flooding the market. And I'm pretty sure this is true from everything I've ever seen in business when this happens. His point was, you're going to watch your customer acquisition go up and your average ticket price go down because you got all this money, and it's like, how do you deploy it, and how do you how are you efficient with it? And I think a lot of these companies that like sent you stuff in a box. There was just an article on CNBC about this. Everyone that like sends you clothes in a box every month, and all these things we really don't need. I don't need a quote unquote personal stylist who sends the same goddamn box to every other dude on the planet. I can walk in a store and buy my own stuff. I can jump on the website and order what I like. I don't need someone to send me clothes picked out for me in a little box. And you realize as the bubble kind of popped, how fast all that stuff got cut. It's like, I really don't need the clothes picked out for me in a box. I really don't need my dinner prepped for me so I can just cook it. I can go to the store and buy my own asparagus and chicken. All these things that they got poured a bunch of money into from the VCs, and they could spend a boatload of money, like $100 or $200 acquiring one customer. Well, the money's run out now. And now it's like, well, now you got to go make a profit on your own. Can you do it? And come to find out they can't. And we watch a lot of these businesses just, I told something to somebody at a WeWork once, funny enough, at a WeWork, because you watch the WeWork bubble pop. And I said the average, we call them party stores in Michigan. I think, it's where you get chips and pop and liquor and all that stuff. Some other places you probably, you call them liquor stores. But I said the average little party store around here probably makes, more money or more profit than most of these startups that you read about in the news every day. And then you look at some of them, it's like they can't even make $1, or they can't sustain themselves without constantly raising capital. And I know we can talk about what is the value of the enterprise, what is the IP, and that's a different story. But as far as just making profit, they can't. And it's like, well, what happens when you actually have to make $1? Can you? And I think you're seeing a lot of these companies now. They've been, boosted up with money for 2, 3, 4 years. But as far as like solid business practice, they can't do it. So if I'm looking at if I'm looking at a janitorial company right now that wants to double in size, and I know they're making $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 a year in real profit, it's like, cool, let's try to figure out how to get you to 1.5 million, right? They're actually making money, real profits. And they look at, man, how many of these tech companies, and the tech companies, all these people, they get all the PR. They're in Fast Company, they're in Forbes, they're in CNBC, they're on Bloomberg, but they can't even make $1. So I actually look up to some of the small business owners way more than these people who got bloated up with $500 million or $1 billion, and they can't figure out how to make $1. It's like, why should I look up to that? Like the guy over here on the janitorial company, he's actually feeding his family. His books are clean. He's making money. And I think that's the issue where a lot of these people are, They needed $1 million. Someone's offering them $5 million. They wanted $100 million. They want to give you $500 million and try to scale faster, hyperscale, get as much market as you can. It's like, well, but can you make money? And what we're finding out right now is a hell of a lot of these companies can't make money. I think I was reading, I didn't catch an article like, the Carvana bust. Did we really need to buy our cars from a vending machine? How long did we think that gimmick was going to work? The clothes in the box and the prepared food meals, like all luxuries. And now you're watching all the premium subscriptions get canceled because you realize how much you don't need. Man, I look at my TV on top of my monstrous Comcast bill. I probably have like 10 other, beyond like Netflix and crap. You got all these other, like, I need to, if I want to watch these old shows, I got to get Discovery Plus, and then you got to have HBO Max, and then you got like 10 different, sports. Do you got to get the MLB package? You want this, you want that, and you got to, I got to buy the app if I want to stream out of market. You got another $150 in these $10 a month stupid apps, and you're already paying for the cable bill. So you're watching all that stuff get canceled now. Like, I don't need the diet app that's costing me $10 a month or $30 a month anymore. I don't use one, I'm just saying. And you're watching all that stuff get canceled because when the market was bloated, they survived. Now when we just get back to like sound business practices, you're not raising any money, and there isn't a bunch of money getting pumped into the system, can you just operate as a normal business? And it sounds like many of these people can't. And you got to look up, and no wonder people buy Apple all the time. No wonder that we buy all these companies that have been around for 20, 30, 40 years that can consistently innovate and either software as a service or manufacture a product, bring some value that, where people want to buy something over and over again. I've seen a lot of these case studies in the past of these new tech startups where, you talk to anybody in the small business world and you try to explain to them that if you run a marketing campaign, whether you run a billboard or a TV commercial, radio commercial, online ad spend, whatever you want to do, $5,000 a month, they're like, well, how much sales am I going to get? And I'm like, you might get 1,000, you might get 4,000. And they're like, well, I want to spend 5,000 and I want to try to get 10,000 in. And I'm like, it just doesn't work that way. It's like very, very rarely do you find this like positive customer acquisition cost where I can spend $1 and make 5. And that's where these startups thrive, is they would get a huge influx of money and they could go spend $100 or $200 to acquire a customer, hoping that with the lifetime customer value that by the fifth year they break even. Doesn't work for small business, so they got to get a little craftier, and it's just a constant grind of building up customers, and they're not spending all that money on customer acq. Well, these startups are getting, hundreds of millions or billions of dollars trying to do it faster, and now that the plug's getting pulled, they can't even survive on their own. So anyways, that's a topic that I get into a lot in the business world, and that's why I wanted to cover that one, because, like, man, Freeberg does hit home on that. This is like stuff we joke about all the time. There's so many people, you go to these like 30 under 30 list or 40 under 40 list, and you look at some of these names, go start Googling some of those people that were in the list 5 or 10 years ago from these, like, these startup companies, and they got funding and they got all the press. The press will never pick up the business people that have been around 5 or 10 years that are going to be around for 10 more years. They pick up these people that got some big funding, and you see their name in a thing for 2, 3, 4 years, and then they disappear. Because you come to find out when push came to shove, and could they actually make $1? They couldn't. But damn, did it sound cool to talk about anyways. Closing note. And they, right before that, they kind of like went in this thing about let's quit talking about the recession and making predictions. And I think we keep going back to that because anyone that's got money in the market, anyone that's an investor, whether it's just equities or real estate or investing in businesses, early stage, late stage, we're sitting here going, well, that's the number one thing on our minds right now. I understand you don't want to sit around and make every episode about that, but that is the pressing issue. What the hell is going to happen in the next 12, 18, or 24 months? We're all sitting here like, oh crap, is the economy going to crash? Is this 2000 and 2008 combined? Will it be shallow? Yeah, most people that have money they want to put to work, or that have money out there, or money in the businesses, we're all sitting here like, yeah, that's on our mind every day, every night, every morning. So you guys probably can't talk about it enough. I gotta imagine most of the people tuning into your show are worried about it too. So I understand you don't want to make every show about that, but that's what's on our mind every day right now. Granted, you're not looking to put any money to work, you got no investments out there, you just like the pod, you probably don't want to listen to it. But I think for a lot of people, we do. Because we're trying to figure it out too. What game are we playing right now? We'll see. And then, what was the last part? They talked about Trump, and, Sachs was talking about FBI. Freeberg was trying to present the question. I'm not sure Sachs ever answered it. I wasn't fully paying attention. I think someone with a giant fifth wheel was trying to run me off the road on I-75 at that point. But what was he saying? Freeberg was framing it as if Trump had, nuclear documents in his house and he wouldn't give them up. Then how else would you get him back or something? I don't remember exactly how he was framing it, but he was trying to say, if this was the case, then Sachs, how would you get him back? Would you have no choice but to kind of raid the house? And I don't think Sachs ever answered that question. But if that's true, let's just say they asked for the documents back 3 times and he just didn't want to give them up, then, well, what do? You just say, okay, we're not going to take them back. I think to Sachs' point, I was wondering if he was going to bring something up, because here in Michigan we had I didn't really follow it. I caught headlines. It was on the morning news here and there. It was the kidnap Whitmer plot, our governor, and I think some of the cases either got dismissed, or there was quite a bit of like FBI involvement in that, where I think they were saying the FBI was too involved, like in an entrapment kind of way. So I was wondering if Sachs is going to bring that up, because if he's talking about the FBI, there are things that should make everyone a little bit concerned. And I don't think that means everybody on the planet and the FBI is bad. But I mean, it seems like there's some things that you got to worry about. I read a crazy stat, and I'm not sure it's true, but it said the Department of Justice has like 100,000 lawyers or something. I'm going to Google that because that could be completely wrong. I remember seeing it somewhere. And when you think about how big our government is, there's going to be some corruption at every level, whether it's at the city level, in the police, again, anywhere. So I think what Sachs was trying to say is, proceed with caution. And who knows? The only thing I can say based on what Sachs and Freeberg was saying is, if what Sachs was saying is true, because I'm not watching the news right now. I was up north. If there was like 30 guys outside with AR-15s, and you're at the residence of ex-president, is that the way to go about it? Is there not some courtesy? That I don't know. I looked at like the Hillary Clinton email, scandal back then, and it seems like they gave Clinton quite a bit of courtesy. Now maybe they asked Trump 3 times for the documents back, and he kept saying piss off, and maybe this is what he gets. But I'm like, is this how you treat an ex-president? Right now, it's you see why so many people are saying that they're weaponizing the FBI because of the way the things went down. And maybe Trump put himself in that position. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. But I think when you show up to an ex-president's residence with like that many people from a forceful aspect, it's like you're trying to get the media to tell this story of, we had to show up with all these armed people because that's how guilty he is. And you can step back and say, well, this is like they treat it almost like they're raiding a cartel member's house, right, in the drug game. And by doing this, it almost gets the story out there that he's not guilty. He's guilty. And that's like, well, is that the best way to paint it? And you can't get on the thing and say, well, we weren't trying to make it political, because that feels really political. And it's like, maybe it comes out that he had all this stuff, and they're going to fry his ass, right? It's just right now nobody knows. The only thing you know right now is they raided the place, and you keep hearing the name nuclear documents. And, you know, maybe he did some shit he shouldn't have done, and they're going to fry him. And, or maybe we're going to find out this is a political thing. I don't know. So you see Freeburg's side, and, you know where Sack stands. I think, I get it. We'll just wait and see. It's, I wasn't a big fan of Hillary Clinton's email server because I came from the tech world. I'm like, ooh, that's not good. And I'm not a big fan of, Trump sitting on whatever documents. If that's true too, it's like, I don't really have a thing for either party. There's right and wrong. And if anyone screwed up, then you get them. But it's, you don't know anymore. Everything's so political. Maybe Hillary's email server was just political. Maybe the Trump thing's just political, or maybe they're both wrong. I don't know. I just thought that when you showed up to an ex-president's house with, guys with AR-15s like that, and I need to verify that. I need to go look that up. That's what Sachs was saying. You're almost trying to paint the picture of something he did something very criminal and something very wrong and very hostile. He's an enemy of the state, and the word espionage just thrown out, and nuclear documents. It's gonna be either mostly true and he's gonna get what he deserves, or it's gonna be a bunch of political theater, and it's only gonna cause this country to be even more divided. And who knows right now? Because right now everything's speculation, and there's a bunch of assumptions, and there's a little bit of stuff getting leaked out. So I would rather the pod just stay away from political stuff, to be honest. But obviously it's major news this week. You know where everybody in the pod stands on the political spectrum. No surprises from anybody. But on a closing note, they could just do without the J-Cal and Sachs banter back and forth, because we know that it really comes down to political ideals. They don't really bust each other's chops that much when it comes to when we're talking like venture funds and stuff. It's usually some kind of political trigger, or something that is political that is trickling down into something that has to do with money and investments and that type of stuff, economy. Let's just keep that off the radar here, and let's get Chamath cussing some more. I feel like probably Chamath is at his best about a half a bottle of wine in, and just no filter, right? You're right. We're sitting around clapping for whatever, because clapping is a strategy these days. Hoping is a strategy, and Chamath's right. I'm hoping it fucking rains gold coins tomorrow, and we'll go buy some more stuff and keep this inflation propped up. Anyways, that's all I got for this one. If you have any additional insights, drop them below in the comment section. Only got a second to scroll through the pod's comments. A couple of great comments in there. I didn't get a lot of time to go through them, but again, the comments on the pod, it's still some of my favorite, parts. I was driving. I didn't have a whole lot of time to flick through there. So, anyways, if you have additional insights, drop them below.